Reed quickly minimized the security feed as Liam stepped into the office, concern evident on his son's face. "Hey, Dad," Liam began, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "I know you're busy, but I really need your advice on something." Reed did his best to push aside the turmoil churning in his chest. "Of course, son. What's going on?" Liam hesitated, glancing down at his shoes. "It's about college, and Lily. She hasn't told you yet, but she's thinking about applying to art school in New York instead of Stanford. She's worried you and Mom will be disappointed." Reed exhaled slowly, his surprise making him sit up straighter. "I had no idea," he said kindly. "Why would we be disappointed? Your mother and I just want you both to be happy and do what you love." "I told her that," Liam continued. "But she thinks Mom had all these plans for them to live together at Stanford. And with you working so much, she's scared to upset anyone more than necessary." Reed stood and placed a reassuring hand on Liam's shoulder. "We'll talk to her together, all right? I promise. Neither of you has to carry these decisions alone. Family comes first." Relief softened Liam's tense expression. "Thanks, Dad. I'll let Lily know." He offered a brief smile before heading back toward the hallway. Reed watched his son leave, the weight of his family's troubles clinging to him. Turning back to his desk, he hesitated before reopening the security feed. This time, his resolve was firm. He couldn't avoid the truth any longer. His mind raced through memories of laughter, holidays, quiet evenings spent in contentment with Aurora. What had changed? Or had he simply missed the signs, lost in work and the daily grind? Outside, a light breeze sent shadows flickering across the moonlit lawn. Reed took a steadying breath and pressed play on the first recording. Whatever secrets had crept into his marriage, he was determined to face them, no matter how much it hurt. Reed's jaw tightened. "Keep digging, Maddox. I want hard proof, records, photos, anything. We need everything documented before I go to legal or the board." Maddox nodded. "You got it. But Reed, this is getting dangerous. If Harlow's working with Onyx International, they're not going to back off quietly." "I know," Reed said, his voice steely. "But they won't see us coming. Not this time." Returning home that evening, Reed kept up the facade, greeting Aurora as usual and having dinner with the twins. He watched his wife closely, noticing subtle changes, the way she avoided his eyes, how her phone rarely left her side, the nervous glances over her shoulder. Lily, distant and wary, barely spoke a word throughout the meal. Later, as Reed sat alone in his office, he replayed Maddox's report in his mind. The evidence was growing, but he needed an unassailable case. He sifted through hours of recordings from the guest house, careful not to let his emotions cloud his judgment. Voices, whispers, plans whispered in the dark. Each clip built a timeline of betrayal and deceit. By the end of 2 months, Reed's evidence was undeniable. He had audio of Aurora passing along access codes and company schedules to Harlow. There were screenshots of messages between Aurora, Harlow, and a third party linked to Onyx International. Bank records confirmed the trail of money. It was enough to implicate both in corporate espionage and conspiracy. But the hardest part was knowing his own wife was willing to risk everything. Their family, his life's work, the safety of people he'd sworn to protect. Reed's resolve hardened. No one, not even Aurora, would be allowed to endanger those under his protection. As a late spring storm gathered over the Montana hills, Reed prepared for the confrontation that would change his family's future forever. Reed flipped through the divorce papers, eyes scanning the dense legal text. "You've thought of everything, haven't you?" he said quietly, his tone eerily calm. "Dr. Bennett, the psychologist, the custody claims, painting me as the villain. Was my only crime loving my family enough to keep them safe? Aurora's lips pressed into a thin, determined line. You call it love, but your kind of love suffocates. I want Lily and Liam out of this world of constant surveillance and danger. I want to give them a normal life. A normal life with Mr. Harlow? Is that your idea of safety? Reed's words were chilly, each syllable sharpened by restraint. Aurora didn't answer. She straightened the papers, pushing them across the counter. You should sign them. The sooner this is over, the better for all of us. Reed met her gaze, eyes unflinching. I've built my life around protecting people. I would never endanger our children or anyone else. Whatever you believe, whatever you think you can prove, I will fight for my family with everything I have. Aurora stood, collected her bag, and turned to leave. Then we'll let the courts decide, Reed. As she walked out, Reed reached for his phone. Maddox, accelerate the plan. I want everything ready by tomorrow. No mistakes. His mind spun through the mounting danger. A bitter custody battle, threats to his business, and a wife who had become a stranger. But one thing was certain. He would not lose his children, or the life he had worked so hard to build, without a fight. I'm not leaving with them, Dad. I don't want any part of this, Liam said firmly, his eyes blazing with conviction. Reed's heart swelled with pride and sorrow. Thank you, son. I'm grateful I can count on you. He reached over and squeezed Liam's shoulder, providing quiet reassurance. I just wish Lily would see the truth, Liam said, voice cracking. She's really scared, Dad. She thinks you'd hurt us. Reed nodded, his jaw clenched in determination. We'll get through to her, I promise. But tonight I need you to stay safe. If anything unusual happens, you call Maddox, not me. Understood? Liam nodded. Understood. Be careful, Dad. As dusk settled over the estate, Reed and Maddox coordinated their plan. Surveillance feeds monitored every approach to the guest house. With the fake documents planted and law enforcement on standby, all that remained was to wait for Aurora and Brock to make their move. In the studio, Aurora's voice echoed through the hidden mic, taut with nerves. Do you have the rest of the files? Brock replied. Yes. Onyx International is sending someone at midnight. We get paid, and by morning we disappear. No trace. Aurora hesitated. What about Reed? Brock's reply was cold. Don't worry. Once the information's exchanged, he's out of the picture for good. You and Lily will be safe with me. Reed listened from his home office, every muscle taut with anticipation. At exactly midnight, headlights flickered at the edge of the property, and a dark sedan crept down the hidden service road. Reed signaled Maddox and quietly alerted Agent Drake that their suspects were on site. As the exchange unfolded, Reed watched the scene in real time, the culmination of months of treachery and deception. Aurora and Brock handed over the fake files to a man in a tailored suit, an agent of Onyx International. Seconds after the handoff, Drake's tactical team closed in, lights flashing and voices shouting commands. It was over in less than 2 minutes. Aurora, Brock, and the courier were taken into custody, stunned by the swiftness of the sting. Reed stepped out into the chilly night, relief and heartbreak warring within him. His life would never be the same, but tonight he had protected not only his family, but countless lives that depended on the integrity of his security firm. The air was thick with anticipation, as attorneys shuffled stacks of papers and murmured quietly. On the other side of the room, Aurora sat with her legal team, her posture rigid, chin held high. Brock's absence was conspicuous, as his own charges now eclipsed any role he might have played in the custody dispute. Lily and Liam entered with their respective court-appointed advocates. Lily, pale and anxious, avoided Reed's gaze, while Liam offered his father a small, supportive nod. The judge, an imposing woman with a commanding presence, called the proceedings to order. Aurora's lawyer opened with a barrage of accusations, allegations of emotional abuse, claims of obsessive surveillance, and the supposed dangers inherent in Reed's profession. Dr. Bennett, their appointed psychologist, took the stand, testifying to Lily's reported fears and Aurora's concerns. Throughout it all, Reed's attorney, Travis Winslow, remained calm, objecting only when necessary. Finally, it was Reed's turn. Travis called Special Agent Quentin Drake to the witness stand. "Agent Drake, can you describe your involvement with Mr. Blackburn in the events of May 14th? Travis asked. Drake's voice was confident. "I was the lead federal agent investigating data leaks targeting protected witnesses. Mr. Blackburn worked closely with our task force after alerting us to a breach. His cooperation was instrumental in exposing a plot involving classified information. His actions, particularly in limiting access, orchestrating a sting operation, and protecting the children's identities were invaluable." Whispers rippled through the courtroom. Aurora's team objected, but the judge overruled them, eager to hear more. Travis produced copies of the FBI's official commendation and recordings from the guest house, entered into evidence with the court's approval. Agent Drake continued, "The individuals responsible for the theft, including Mrs. Blackburn and her accomplice, Mr. Harlow, were apprehended in a joint federal operation. There is no evidence Mr. Blackburn ever endangered his children. In fact, his actions may have saved lives." For the first time, Aurora's composure faltered, her mask slipping as she realized how much evidence Reed had assembled. Lily's brow knit in confusion, looking from her mother to Reed to the judge. Reed felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, at last, the truth was finally coming to light. Aurora's voice trembled as she spoke, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I admit I made terrible choices. I let someone influence me and I betrayed my marriage. But I truly believed I needed to protect my children from Reed's controlling ways. I'm not perfect, but I only wanted Lily and Liam to feel safe." Her words seemed to hang in the air, casting Reed as the distant, consuming threat, while she positioned herself as the misunderstood, desperate mother. Throughout her testimony, Aurora glanced frequently at Lily, reinforcing the bond between mother and daughter and her role as protector. When it was Travis's turn to cross-examine, he stood slowly, carefully modulating his tone. "Mrs. Blackburn, you've described your husband as controlling because of the surveillance equipment in your home. Wouldn't you agree, however, that such measures are standard in the homes of high-profile clients needing protection?" Aurora hesitated. Maybe for clients, but not for a family. "Yet you benefited from that protection, didn't you?" Travis pressed. "Weren't there situations in the past where those security measures prevented potentially dangerous incidents?" Aurora bristled, but her face remained impassive. "That doesn't change how it made us feel." Travis nodded, as if accepting her point. "Of course. And isn't it also true, Mrs. Blackburn, that at the time of your arrest, you were attempting to hand classified information to a private contractor under federal investigation?" Sylvia objected sharply, irrelevant to his parenting fitness. Judge Bishop overruled, "The witness will answer." Aurora flushed. "I made a mistake. I was desperate. I never would have done anything to bring harm to my children." Travis continued, "You did not inform Mr. Blackburn or the court about Lily's appointments with Dr. Bennett, did you?" "There was no need," Aurora said defensively. "He would have only used it against me." "I see. So you made that decision unilaterally, just as you made decisions about sharing confidential information from his business? Sylvia objected again, this time successfully. Judge Bishop instructed both attorneys to move on, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. Next, Travis called Agent Drake to testify again. The agent's calm, direct responses contrasted with the emotional testimonies that had come before. We found no evidence of abuse, emotionally or otherwise, perpetrated by Mr. Blackburn, Drake stated. On the contrary, we confirmed his actions were those of a man attempting to protect his family and others from real threats. Reed looked at Lily, whose guarded expression seemed to waver. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty replaced her earlier certainty. Travis quietly leaned over to Reed. This isn't over. The truth is finally out there. Now we wait for the judge's decision. The courtroom fell silent as the recording played, the weight of Aurora's betrayal hanging heavy in the air. When the recording ended, Judge Bishop's expression was stern, his eyes fixed on Aurora. Mrs. Blackburn, do you have anything to say in response to this evidence? He asked, his voice echoing through the hushed courtroom. Aurora's face was a mask of shock and fear. I can explain, she stammered, but her words trailed off as she realized the futility of her defense. Judge Bishop turned to Reed. Mr. Blackburn, you've presented compelling evidence. However, the court must consider the best interests of the children. I will need time to review all the evidence and testimonies before making a final decision. Travis nodded. Of course, Your Honor, we understand. The judge adjourned the hearing, setting a date for the final ruling in 2 weeks. As the courtroom began to clear, Reed stood, his eyes never leaving Aurora. You've played your hand, Aurora. Now let's see how the judge deals with your deceit. Aurora's gaze flickered with a mix of anger and desperation. You won't win, Reed. I'll fight you until my last breath. Reed's voice was cold and steady. I know you will, but this time the truth is on my side. And the truth always wins in the end. As they left the courtroom, Liam walked over to Reed, his expression a blend of relief and determination. We did it, Dad. We showed them the truth. Reed put an arm around his son's shoulders. We did, Liam, and now we wait. But no matter what happens, I'm proud of you. You stood up for what's right, and that's all that matters. Lily, who had been standing quietly by the door, looked at Reed with a mix of confusion and curiosity. Dad, I didn't know. About Mom and Mr. Harlow, I thought... Her voice trailed off, tears welling in her eyes. Reed stepped closer to her, his voice gentle. I know, sweetheart, it's a lot to take in. But you're strong, and you'll get through this. We all will. Lily nodded, taking a deep breath. I want to believe you, Dad, I really do. Reed smiled softly. And I want you to, Lily, because it's the truth, and the truth will set us free. Reed reached out, gently pulling Lily into a comforting embrace. You're not alone, sweetheart. When the people we trust most deceive us, it's almost impossible to see clearly. You did the best you could with what you knew. Lily clung to him, sobs shaking her slender frame. I miss how things used to be, Dad. Before all of this. I just want to feel safe again. I want our family back. Reed stroked her hair soothingly. We will have safety, Lily. It won't be the same, but we'll build something honest together. There's nothing you could have said or done that would make me love you any less, I promise. She nodded weakly, wiping her eyes. What happened to Mom? She's facing serious consequences for her choices, Lily. She'll have to answer for what she did, but that's not your responsibility. All you need to focus on now is healing and moving forward. Lily nodded, her breathing steadying. Can we just take things slowly? Of course. Reed smiled, relief and hope blooming in his chest. One day at a time. We'll figure things out together. A long silence settled between them, but it was filled with understanding. A small step toward rebuilding the broken trust that would one day make their family whole again. We need to tighten security, not just for Senator Morrison but for everyone involved, Agent Drake said gravely. Onyx International has deep resources, and if their operative is still out there, your family could remain a target. I'll double-check everything on my end, Reed responded, his mind already moving through protocols and contingencies. And I'll keep the twins close, just in case. Drake's tone softened. Try to rest, Reed. You've done your part. We'll have agents posted nearby until we apprehend the courier. I'll be in touch with any updates. Reed hung up, a sense of unease settling over him despite the courtroom victory. He couldn't shake the feeling that the danger wasn't truly over, not yet. That evening, he sat at the kitchen table, reviewing security logs and adjusting the estate's surveillance settings. Liam came in quietly, glancing at his father before pouring a glass of water. Everything all right? Liam asked. Reed forced a reassuring smile. Just a few loose ends to tie up, son. Nothing we can't handle together. Liam nodded, offering his dad a rare, genuine smile in return. We're safer with you here. I know that now. Reed felt a flicker of hope. Lily was still withdrawn, battling her mixed feelings and trust issues, but at least one of his children had started to believe in him again. Outside, the Montana sky stretched wide and clear, stars blinking in the darkness. Reed knew there was still work ahead, threats to manage and wounds to heal, but for the first time in months he felt the strength to face whatever would come next, determined to protect his family no matter what. Reed coordinated with Maddox, his instructions crisp and unwavering. Liam is in gym class. He'll be an easier pull. Lily's in a private session with Vega, so I'll handle that myself. Maddox, secure the side corridor by the counselor's office and block all exits. Keep it quiet. Maddox's answer was immediate. Roger that. We'll have extraction vehicles staged 2 blocks away. No one will see us coming. At Westlake Academy, the team moved in surgical formation. Reed entered through a maintenance entrance, badge credentials providing just enough cover for him to reach the guidance counselor's wing without raising alarm. Down the hall, he glimpsed Melanie Winters, Cassandra Vega, through the narrow glass window of her office. She sat poised across from Lily, her smile unsettlingly gentle. Lily looked up as Reed entered, surprise and relief flickering across her face. Dad, what? Everything's going to be okay, Reed said softly, his gaze cold as he met Vega's eyes. We're leaving, Lily. Now. Vega's facade slipped, lips curling into a smirk. You're too late, Reed. Onyx already has leverage you can't touch. Reed's voice was like steel. Stand up. Step away from my daughter, now. Vega obliged, her hands visible. No sudden moves. If you walk out that door with her, the rest of your security protocols go public. Senator Morrison, every witness your company's protected, gone. Lily's hands trembled as Reed put a protective arm around her. I don't care about your threats. You're finished here, Cassandra. The FBI is already en route, and there are enough witnesses outside to guarantee you'll never disappear again. A tense standoff lingered in the air before the hallway crackled with coded radio signals. Maddox's team had secured Liam and neutralized the last of Vega's hidden backup. Agent Drake and federal agents burst into the building moments later, weapons drawn. Drop it, Vega, Drake barked. Surrounded, Vega surrendered with a defiant, bitter smile. Within minutes, both the twins were safe in the armored convoy, Vega in federal custody, and the last pieces of the Onyx operation crushed. Reed pulled Lily and Liam close in the back of the vehicle, his heart pounding with relief and fierce determination. "It's over," he assured them, voice gentle but unyielding. "Onyx will never use you against me again. We're going home, together." Exhausted but safe, the twins finally managed to believe it. Reed's voice was steady, his eyes locked onto Cassandra's. "I know who you are. I know what you're after. But you're not getting it." Cassandra's hand froze, inches from the drawer. "You're making a mistake, Mr. Blackburn. You don't want to do this." Reed's hand moved to his sidearm, concealed under his jacket. "I'm not the one making mistakes, Cassandra. You should have stayed dead. Now, step away from the desk and put your hands where I can see them." Cassandra's expression darkened, her eyes darting to the door. "You're outnumbered, Reed. Onyx has people everywhere. Not here they don't," Reed countered. "My team has the school secured. The FBI is on their way. It's over, Cassandra. You lose." Cassandra's lips curled into a snarl. "You think you've won? You've only delayed the inevitable. Onyx will find another way. They always do." Reed shook his head. "Not on my watch, not with my family." With a swift motion, Reed disarmed Cassandra, pulling a small pistol from her desk drawer. He backed her against the wall, his gun trained on her. "It's over, Cassandra. You're under arrest for conspiracy, espionage, and attempted kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Outside, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. Agent Drake and his team burst into the office, weapons drawn. "Freeze!" Drake commanded. Cassandra's eyes flashed with hatred, but she complied, her hands raised. "You think this is over, Blackburn? You're wrong. Onyx will come for you." "They always do." Reed's expression was cold, unyielding. "Let them try. I'll be ready." As federal agents took Cassandra into custody, Reed turned to Lily, his voice gentle but firm. "It's time to go, sweetheart. We're going home." Lily nodded, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. "Okay, Dad, let's go home." Together, they walked out of the guidance counselor's office, leaving the shadows of betrayal and danger behind. Reed's grip on Lily's hand was steady, his resolve unshakable. No matter what threats loomed, he would protect his family. Always. "I thought she was helping me, Dad. I thought she was on my side. She manipulated you, just like she manipulated your mother." Reed's voice was firm but gentle. "She used your trust against you, but it's over now. You're safe. We're all safe." Liam, who had been silent until now, spoke up from the back seat. "She's right, Dad. We need to be more careful. Who else could be out there?" Reed started the engine, his eyes scanning the surroundings as they pulled away from the school. "I don't know, Liam, but I promise you I will find out. No one will ever use you or your sister again. I'll make sure of it." As they drove home, Reed's mind raced with the implications of Cassandra's confession. Aurora had been more deeply involved with Onyx than he had initially thought. She had provided them with crucial information, putting countless lives at risk. But now, with Cassandra in custody and the FBI on high alert, he could finally start to piece together the full extent of the betrayal. Once they arrived home, Reed immediately set to work reinforcing the estate's security measures. He contacted Travis, filling him in on the latest developments and requesting additional legal protection for the twins. Then, he turned his attention to the children, ensuring they were both physically and emotionally secure. Lily, still shaken, retreated to her room, while Liam joined Reed in the study. "What can I do, Dad?" Liam asked, his voice steady and determined. Reed looked at his son, pride swelling in his chest. You can help me go through the security logs, make sure there are no other breaches, and keep an eye on your sister. She's going to need us both in the coming days. Liam nodded, rolling up his sleeves. I'm on it, Dad. We'll get through this together. As they worked side by side, Reed felt a sense of hope. Despite the darkness that had threatened to consume his family, there was still light. There was still strength in their bond, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. You trusted the people who were supposed to protect you. That's not a crime, Lily, not ever. Reed's voice was gentle, but resolute. What matters is that you see the truth now, and you're safe. Nothing you said or did changes how much I love you, or my determination to make things right for both you and Liam. Lily closed her eyes, swallowing hard. I just want things to feel normal again. I want to trust you, Dad, and not be afraid of what else might come out about our family. We'll get there, Reed promised. One day at a time, Lily. All I ask is that you talk to me, no matter how hard it feels. We're a team now, just like before. Lily nodded, her tears returning, but this time they seemed to wash away some of the fear and guilt. Okay, Dad, I'll try. Reed hugged her tightly, feeling a glimmer of hope for the healing ahead. We'll protect each other, sweetheart. Always. For the first time in weeks, Lily relaxed into his embrace. And as Reed held his daughter, he knew that while the path forward wouldn't be easy, their family would find its way. Together. You always had options, Aurora, Reed said quietly, his voice laced with disappointment. You chose your side, and now our children are in the crosshairs because of it. Aurora gave a bitter laugh. That self-righteousness, I almost missed it. You think I don't know what I've done? You think I haven't lain awake every night knowing I put Lily and Liam at risk? Reed met her eyes with icy calm. Regret doesn't erase consequences. Tell me what I need to know to protect them, Aurora. Not for you, for them. Aurora's shoulders slumped. There's a meeting scheduled tonight at the old railway warehouse on Henderson Street. Onyx will have a full team there. They're expecting someone to hand over updated schedules and travel routes for your clients. They have a new hacker, name's Malachi. He's been gathering data from the school and medical records, and he knows your system is nearly impenetrable from the outside, which means he'll try to use social engineering or physical leverage. Agent Drake exchanged a quick glance with Travis, then asked, Has anyone on the inside helped them since Cassandra Vega's arrest? Aurora shook her head. No. With her gone, Onyx doesn't have a foothold. They're desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things. But they won't stop unless you make it impossible for them to get what they want. Reed rose, gathering his papers. I am going to make it impossible. You said you wanted to protect Lily and Liam? Cooperate with Agent Drake. If there's anything else you remember, now is the time to tell them. For a moment, Aurora hesitated, her bravado flickering, replaced by something raw and broken. I did love you, Reed. I loved our family. I made terrible mistakes. Reed's expression softened only a fraction. Then do the right thing now. He left the interview room, determination burning in his chest. The battle wasn't finished, but the lines were drawn more clearly than ever. As he stepped out into the cold light of morning, he called Maddox. Prep the team. Onyx moves tonight. This ends now. But you won't be, Travis said, catching on. We set a trap. Reed's gaze was steel. Crane expects me to show up, alone and vulnerable, carrying what he believes are the Morrison protocols. He thinks he can predict my every move, but he doesn't know my team, and he doesn't know me. Drake nodded thoughtfully. We can use this. We'll prep a covert FBI assault team, but keep them deep undercover. No earpieces, no direct surveillance near the hotel itself. We'll have them in place to respond only when you give the signal. Maddox and your crew can integrate without tipping off Onyx. I'll carry a decoy drive with all the fake data. A dead man's switch encrypted to transmit a federal alert the second he tries to access it. Reed planned aloud. And I'll wear a mic. You'll hear everything from the mobile command post, but it'll be on me if the situation changes. Travis frowned. And the twins? Your father? They'll be moved for their own protection, but not by obvious means, Reed replied. Maddox will coordinate extraction teams for Lily, Liam, and Marshall, picking times and routes at random, locations only known at the last possible moment. Drake considered, then nodded. I'll get the details to the tactical squad and assign 2 of our best field agents to shadow your family's security teams. This is high risk, Reed. Reed met his eyes, determined. Crane wants to see me desperate, afraid. He'll get me calm, prepared, and utterly ruthless. As Reed walked away to make final preparations, the sense of inevitability sharpened his focus. He would not back down. No matter what Crane and Onyx brought to the fight, Reed was ready to put an end to the threat and protect his family, whatever it took. Reed didn't flinch, his eyes adjusting quickly to the harsh illumination. He saw Victor Crane standing at the far end of the hallway, flanked by 2 heavily armed operatives. Crane's smile was cold, calculating. Reed Blackburn, Crane greeted, his voice echoing through the empty hotel. I must admit I'm impressed. You're right on time. Reed's expression remained neutral. I'm not here to be impressed, Crane. I'm here to end this. Crane chuckled, a sound devoid of humor. Straight to the point. I like that. But you're outnumbered and outgunned, Blackburn. You should have brought more friends. Friends aren't always the best allies in a fight, Reed replied, his hand casually resting on the tablet inside his jacket. Sometimes it's better to go alone. Crane's eyes narrowed, assessing Reed's every move. You think you can outsmart me? Outmaneuver my team? You're a security expert, not a soldier. You're wrong, Reed said softly. I'm both, and I know how to win. Crane's smile faded, replaced by a look of cold determination. Then, let's see what you've got. Hand over the protocols and we'll make this quick and painless. Reed took a step forward, his voice steady. Not until I know my family is safe. You've threatened them enough. Crane's operatives raised their weapons, but Crane held up a hand, stopping them. You're in no position to make demands, Blackburn, but I'll play along. Tell me what you want to know. Reed's mind raced, calculating the best way to expose Crane's true intentions. I want to know why you're after Senator Morrison. What's so important about her that you'd risk everything to get to her? Crane's expression didn't change, but Reed could see the slight tension in his shoulders. That's none of your business. All you need to know is that she's a target, and you're the key to taking her down. And if I refuse? Reed asked, his hand inching closer to the tablet. Crane's smile returned, chilling and cruel. Then your family pays the price. Your children, your father, none of them are safe, and neither are you. Reed's grip tightened on the tablet, his resolve unshakable. You're bluffing. You don't have the resources to take on my entire security team. You don't have the manpower to keep tabs on everyone I care about. Crane's eyes flashed with anger. You think you know everything, don't you? You think you're untouchable. But you're wrong, Blackburn. You're very, very wrong. As Crane's operatives moved closer, Reed knew the time had come to make his move. He activated the dead man's switch on the tablet, transmitting the federal alert to Agent Drake and the FBI tactical team. "You're right, Crane. I do know everything, and I know you're about to make a big mistake." With a swift motion, Reed drew a concealed weapon from his jacket, firing a single shot that struck one of Crane's operatives in the shoulder. The man went down, his weapon clattering to the floor. Chaos erupted as Maddox and the FBI team stormed the mezzanine, weapons drawn and ready. Crane's remaining operative was taken down within seconds, leaving Crane alone and outnumbered. "It's over, Crane," Reed said, his voice cold and unyielding. "You lose." Crane's expression was a mix of shock and rage, but he knew he was defeated. As federal agents moved in to apprehend him, Reed stepped forward, his eyes locked onto Crane's. "You thought you could use my family against me. You thought you could manipulate and control, but you were wrong, and now you'll pay the price." As Crane was led away in handcuffs, Reed felt a sense of relief and determination. The battle was won, but the war against Onyx was far from over. He would continue to protect his family no matter what threats lay ahead. "Federal agents, drop your weapon and put your hands where we can see them." Agent Drake's voice boomed through the chaos, his team sweeping into the room with tactical precision. Crane froze, pale blue eyes burning with fury as Reed forced him to the ground. Maddox covered the fallen operatives, ensuring they stayed down, while Agent Drake personally stepped forward to place Crane in handcuffs. Reed released his grip, breathing hard but steady. "He's all yours, Agent Drake," he said, without taking his eyes off Crane, whose contempt curled his battered lip. Drake nodded, voice low but unflinching. "Victor Crane, you're under arrest for conspiracy, espionage, attempted kidnapping, and a long list of federal charges." Crane only smiled faintly. "Clean win, Blackburn. But you know how this game works. There's always another player, another move." Reed met his gaze coldly. "There might be, but you won't ever touch my family again." Agents quickly secured the scene, collecting evidence and rendering the captured operatives harmless. Crane, his arrogance replaced by silent rage, was led away in shackles. Maddox approached Reed as the aftermath settled around them. "You good?" Maddox asked, scanning the environment one more time. "I will be," Reed replied, quietly watching as the last echoes of Onyx's threat were carried away. "For the first time in a long while, I actually believe that." Agent Drake joined them, his face relieved and resolute. "Your planning made all the difference, Reed. Morrison and every protected witness are safe, and your family is under federal protection until the dust settles." Reed nodded, gratitude and exhaustion blending in his expression. "Thank you, Agent Drake. Let's make sure Onyx never gets close again." As Reed stepped into the cool night air outside the Meridian Hotel, the adrenaline finally drained from his body. He thought of Lily, Liam, his father, everyone he fought so fiercely to protect. For them, he'd faced down monsters from his past, outwitted deadly adversaries, and risked it all. And for them, he would do it again if ever the need arose. But for now, at last, the darkness had receded. Reed Blackburn had reclaimed his life, his family, and his peace, though hard-won, for a quiet moment under the watchful stars of Montana. "His?" Aurora said tightly. Reed unfolded the paper. It was a photocopy of a handwritten letter, one he immediately recognized as Maddox's precise, careful script. The language was coded, but the references left little doubt. Mentions of Onyx, subtle updates about Blackburn Security's protocols, and repeated notes about the senator. Dates stretched back more than a decade. Aurora watched him read, her keen eyes gauging every micro-expression. "He kept detailed logs," she whispered. "I found them hidden in Brock's loft, with other onyx materials. Maddox never trusted me, not truly. He trusted the money, even more than you." Reed's mind raced. All the nights Maddox had seemed to work late, the hush in his manner, the times he'd encouraged Reed to give Aurora space. They all suddenly fell into a sickening new light. Still, some part of Reed didn't want to believe it. "Why are you giving this to me now, Aurora?" She hesitated, the old mask of calculation slipping for just a moment. "Because you're the only person left in my life who can do something about it. And because, however much I hate what we became, I loved you once, Reed. Our children deserve to be safe." He folded the letter carefully, meeting her eyes. "If you're lying, I'm not," Aurora said, tears shining but not falling. "Check the handwriting, the timestamps, the contacts listed. You'll find the proof." A buzzer sounded. The allotted visit time was over. Guards appeared at the door. Aurora's voice was strained but fierce. "Be careful, Reed. He won't hesitate if he's threatened." As she was led away, Reed sat for a long moment, the letter burning a hole in his hand. If Aurora was right, Maddox's betrayal went deeper than anything he'd faced before. Reed left the center resolute. He wouldn't act on Aurora's word alone, but he'd get answers, quietly and ruthlessly. For his children, for his company, and for everything he had left, Reed was prepared to rip off every remaining mask, even those closest to him. Reed exited the interview room, the envelope of damning evidence tucked beneath his arm, and a storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. He knew trust was a luxury he could no longer afford, not with his children's safety and the integrity of everything he'd built at stake. By the time he reached his car, Reed had already summoned a secure line to Travis. "I've confirmed Maddox's offshore transactions and photographic ties to Onyx. We'll need to lock down all access points and initiate silent alert protocols at the estate, effective immediately." "Is this certain?" Travis asked, voice tense. "As certain as I've ever been," Reed replied gravely. "Run facial recognition on the surveillance photos, cross-check them against my current senior staff, and have FBI technical forensics verify the authenticity of the banking information. Maddox can't know we suspect him, yet." "What about your father and the twins?" Travis pressed. "They stay protected, but normal. No sudden moves, no trips alone with Maddox. Not until I confront him myself. I'll pull Lily and Liam aside tonight. Quiet, but direct. They need to hear it from me." As he ended the call, Reed's mind lingered on Aurora's final, whispered regret. He wondered if the wound in Lily and Liam would ever fully heal, or if their lives would always be touched by shadows left by betrayal. But for now, there was only the next step, rooting out the danger closest to home, and protecting his children from the most insidious threat yet, a traitor who had worn the mask of a friend for years. Reed would not waver, not hesitate, not this time. The hour for trust was over. Now, only the truth could keep them safe. "And you never were?" Reed countered, his voice low but steady, muscles tense and ready. Maddox's lips curved into a humorless smile. "I've always been what you needed me to be, Reed. Loyal friend, trusted confidant, security expert, until the payout was big enough to change the equation." "And you manipulated my daughter," Reed accused, fury boiling beneath the calm. "You made her doubt her own father. Was that also just business?" "It was the only way to steer her away from you." Maddox shrugged, jaw tight. "If she trusted me more than you, she'd share information. Onyx needed leverage. cracks to exploit. You, of all people, should understand operational necessity. Reed drew in a careful breath, every instinct screaming for action, but knowing that patience was his best weapon now. And the photo surveillance of my father. The attempts on Liam at school. You put my entire family in the crosshairs. There's no operational necessity for that. That was personal. Maddox's gaze flickered. Guilt, regret, or just calculation. Reed couldn't be sure. You were never supposed to find out. Not like this. The faintest vibration on Reed's watch signaled the FBI team had entered the property perimeter. You lied. You betrayed us all, Reed said. But you didn't anticipate I'd still be a step ahead. Don't do this, Reed, Maddox warned, raising his weapon just a fraction as tension crackled between them. But Reed was ready. In a split-second motion, practiced over decades, he drew his own concealed sidearm, angling it low between them. Drop it, Maddox. The FBI is already inside. This is your only chance to surrender, and maybe walk out of here alive. For a moment, it seemed Maddox might fight, but the old bond flickered in his eyes. A loyalty long since twisted, but never wholly erased. You should have known, Reed, Maddox said quietly, lowering his weapon and letting it clatter to the floor. Reed kept his aim steady, relief and bitterness warring in his chest. Maybe I did, he admitted. Just not soon enough. As FBI agents burst into the hallway, Maddox raised his hands, and Reed finally let himself hope that this, at last, was the end of the betrayals. As Maddox was led away in handcuffs, Reed's only thought was for Lily and Liam, their safety, their future, and the chance to finally build something without shadows lurking at every turn. Reed's expression was cold, unyielding. You're wrong. This changes everything. I'll make sure of it. As the agent secured Maddox and moved to check on Lily, Reed's thoughts raced. He needed to ensure that the twins were safe and that Maddox's manipulations were fully exposed. The FBI would handle the immediate threat, but Reed knew he had to take additional steps to protect his family and his company. He contacted Travis, filling him in on the confrontation and Maddox's claims. I need you to start digging into every piece of evidence Maddox mentioned. We need to find and neutralize any threats he's planted. And I need to talk to the twins. They need to know the truth. Travis's voice was steady and reassuring. I'm on it. I'll coordinate with the FBI and get a full forensic team on this. And Reed, be careful. Maddox might be down, but he's not out. He's a cornered animal now, and he'll fight dirty. Reed nodded, though Travis couldn't see him. I know, but I'm not backing down, not this time, not ever again. As he ended the call, Reed made his way to the panic room, where Lily was waiting. She looked up as he entered, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. Dad, is it over? Is Maddox? He's in custody, Reed assured her, pulling her into a tight embrace. You're safe. Both of you are, I promise. Lily clung to him, her voice muffled against his chest. I was so scared, I didn't know who to trust. You can trust me, Reed said firmly. Always. And I'm sorry I didn't protect you from this sooner. Lily pulled back, looking up at him with tears in her eyes. It's not your fault. You didn't know. None of us did. Reed nodded, his heart aching for the pain his children had endured. But I do now, and I'll make sure nothing like this ever happens again. As they left the panic room, Reed's mind was already formulating a plan. He would expose every piece of Maddox's deception, ensure that his children were safe, and rebuild the trust that had been shattered. No matter what it took, he would protect his family, and this time he would leave nothing to chance. Reed turned his focus fully to rebuilding a life for himself and his children. one rooted in truth and vigilance, no longer shadowed by deception. The next morning, the Montana sun cut through the haze as Reed convened a meeting with his new, carefully vetted security staff. He outlined enhanced rotas, advanced contingency plans, and protocols for every possible scenario, no matter how remote. He knew trust would come slowly, if at all. He watched the twins closely, searching for signs of fear, resilience, and hope. Liam threw himself into school and physical training, his cautious optimism showing as he started to joke again in quiet moments. Lily spent more time outdoors, sketchbook in hand, sometimes joining Reed for coffee on the porch, silent at first, then asking pointed questions about the future, her place in it, and the measures Reed was taking to keep their fractured family safe. Every evening, Reed checked his children's rooms himself and reviewed security logs before finally allowing himself a moment of peace in the stillness of his study. He often thought about Maddox's careful manipulations, Aurora's remorse, the price of vigilance, and the battlefield that had once been his own home. He held on to the knowledge that, despite everything, he had kept his promise to protect the ones he loved. Onyx would never stop entirely, he knew that now, but Reed Blackburn, scarred yet unbroken, would never stop either. He would meet the future as he always had, determined, prepared, and loving his children with a fierceness the world would never take from him again. And in the slow, steady way that wounds begin to knit closed, the Blackburn family, no longer prey, but survivors, stepped into the uncertain light of a new beginning. Some betrayals go too deep for forgiveness, Lily. Your mother crossed boundaries that a parent never should. My job is to protect you, and sometimes that means making hard choices, like keeping her words from reaching you until you're truly ready. Lily nodded, accepting this truth in her own quiet way. The burden of anger and pain seemed to lighten as she understood her father's resolve came from love, not control. They stood together, letting the mountain wind carry away old hurts. After a moment, Lily spoke again, her voice a little steadier. Thank you for fighting for us, even when we didn't believe in you, even when we tried not to. Reed squeezed her shoulder, reassurance strong in his grip. I'll always fight for you, Lily. That's what it means to be your father. We don't get to choose how the world tests us, but we do get to choose how we face it. And we'll do it together, just like this. As the sun dipped lower, streaking the peaks with gold, Reed knew their lives would never be simple. But for the first time in a long while, there was hope, and a kind of peace. In the silence, in the safety they had reclaimed, father and daughter watched the world widen before them, their scars woven into strength, and the promise of a new beginning shining on the horizon. Reed smiled, pride shining in his eyes. That would suit you, son. You'd be good at it. The world will always need people who understand how to keep others safe, especially those who know firsthand what's at stake. Liam chuckled, the tension that had defined their lives for so long finally giving way to hope. I still want to bike and climb, too, maybe a college with mountains nearby. We'll find the right place for you, Reed promised, knowing that for the first time in a long while, his children had the freedom to plan and dream. They finished their sandwiches together, the kitchen filled with late-night peace instead of secrets or worry. As Reed headed upstairs, he paused at the threshold, taking in the quiet comfort of his new home. The threat to his family was gone, but the lessons remained. Trust was earned and guarded, love had to be proven, and healing was a journey meant to be walked together. As the night deepened and the crisp Colorado air drifted through an open window, Reed let himself hope, not just for safety, but for forgiveness, for laughter, and for a future rebuilt on honesty and strength. And under that mountain sky, the Blackburn family, unbroken, finally began again. Again soon. Reed sat for a long moment in the quiet of his office, listening to the faint sounds of a peaceful home. Liam moving about upstairs. Lily's laughter drifting down the hallway. The wind whispering through Colorado pines beyond thick security glass. He allowed himself to relax just a little, letting go of the vigilance that had defined so many of his days. His family was safe. His enemies defeated. The road forward would have new challenges, but nothing could ever break them again in the same way. Reed Blackburn leaned back in his chair, the weight of revenge finally lifted, replaced by a solemn resolve. To be a father, a protector, and a builder of hope. Night settled quietly over the mountains, peace hard-won but real. Reed, ever watchful yet newly at ease, knew with certainty that whatever darkness might linger in the world, the light inside his home would never be extinguished again.